All right, welcome. So you're looking to build a fence in Leland, North Carolina. You've probably already figured out it's not just about picking out the wood and getting to work, right? There are permits, there are rules, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We'll walk you through everything you need to know to get this project done right without any of the headaches.
You can see it now, can't you? That perfect fence wrapping around your yard. But then you hit the wall of local ordinances and, well, it can feel like trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. Don't worry, we're going to flip the lights on. Think of this as your map through all of Leland's fence rules.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First step, the permit puzzle. Then we'll dive into the key rules for the fence itself. Think height and location. After that, we'll cover some special cases you might run into. And to finish it off, we'll give you a super simple roadmap to follow. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, Section 1, the permit puzzle. Let's figure out what paperwork you're going to need. Honestly, this is the most important step. Getting this right from the get-go is going to save you so much trouble down the line. So before we even talk about permits, we need to get one key term down. You're going to see this pop up, accessory structure. It sounds kind of technical, but all it means is a secondary building on your property, like a shed or a detached garage. And here's the thing. In Leland, fences often fall into this category. This is super important because it's the reason why a lot of the rules apply to fences in the first place.
Okay, so what kind of permit are we actually talking about here? Well, there are two you need to know. First, there's the zoning permit. Think of this one as non-negotiable. If you're building a residential fence, you have to get one, period. Then you've got the building permit. This one's a maybe. It depends on what you're building. For sure, you'll need it for big commercial fences over 6 feet or for heavy-duty stuff like masonry walls. But for some residential fences, you might need it too.
And that brings up the big question, right? When exactly does your regular old backyard fence need that bigger, more involved building permit? And here's our first and probably most important piece of advice. The official rules are a little fuzzy on this. They don't spell it out perfectly. So this means your most crucial tool for this project, it's not a post hole digger, it's your phone. You absolutely have to call the town and ask them directly. Okay, Section 2. We've talked paperwork. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the fence itself. We're going to focus on what I call the big 3. How high it can be, where you can put it, and what it can be made of. All right, I want you to burn this number into your brain. 6 feet. 6 feet. This number is everywhere in the Leland rulebook. It's kind of the magic number. It's a super common height for privacy fences, of course, but the real reason it's so important is that it's often the tipping point, the line you cross that might mean you need that building permit we were just talking about. Now, what's interesting here are the rules we do know. The town is really specific about some things. Like, if you're a daycare, you need a fence that's at least 4 feet high. Makes sense. And if your fence is right next to certain types of sheds, it has to be at least 6 feet high. But what about just general max height for your backyard fence? You'd think that would be front and center, right? Well, the official documents, they're kind of silent on that point. And that missing puzzle piece brings us right back to what we've been saying all along. You see a gap in the information, what do? You don't guess. You can't just assume, 8 feet must be fine. No way. This is another one for your list of questions when you call the town of Leland. Seriously, get that official answer from them before you even think about buying materials. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about where your fence can go. And the magic word here is setback. All a setback is really is a buffer zone. It's the minimum distance the town requires between your fence and your property line or the street or other stuff. It's all about making sure there's enough room for, well, everything. Access, utilities, safety, you get the idea. So this gives us a really good look at what those setback distances are. Again, this is based on the idea that your fence is an accessory structure. So the general rule of thumb for your side and backyard, 10 feet. You got to stay 10 feet away from the line. But, and this is a big but, there's a cool exception for residential properties that can cut that in half, down to 5 feet. Usually that applies if you're putting up a taller fence, like 6 feet or more. And you see that much bigger number for corner lots? We're going to get to why that is in just a second.
Okay, so this all leads to probably the number one question everybody asks. Forget the 5 feet, forget the 10 feet. Can I just build my fence on the property line? Split the difference with the neighbor, maybe even split the cost. It seems like a perfectly logical question, doesn't it? And the answer is, well, it's not a simple yes or no. It's complicated. See, when you build on the line, you're getting into a whole different world of legal stuff, like ownership and who's responsible for repairs and access rights. It's way more than just a simple zoning question. That's exactly why the town doesn't just say, go for it in the rulebook. This is another one where you absolutely have to talk to a planner about your specific law. Okay, section 3. We've covered the basics that apply to pretty much everyone. Now let's get into some of the special cases. So listen up. If you live on a corner lot, you have a swimming pool, or, and this is a big one, you have an HOA, this part is for you.
So, if you're on a corner lot, you've got this extra layer of responsibility. It's all about safety. The town has this concept called a visibility triangle. Just picture the corner of your property at the intersection. You have to keep that area clear of anything that would block a driver's view of oncoming traffic. It's a huge safety issue, and your fence absolutely cannot get in the way of that sightline. The rules on this are very, very specific.
And there are a couple of other big ones to be aware of. If you have a swimming pool, it's all about safety, obviously. You've got to have a barrier, at least 48 inches tall, and, this is key, a gate that self-closes and self-latches. We already touched on the 4-foot fence for daycares. And last, but definitely not least, please, 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 do not forget about your HOA. Your homeowners association has its own set of rules, and they can and often are even stricter than the town's. Whew, okay, that was a lot of rules, right? A lot of regulations. So, what do you do with all this information? How do you actually get started? That's what this final section is all about. Let's walk through your project roadmap step by step. Here it is, your 6-step plan for getting this done right. Number 1, get a survey. You've got to know exactly where your property lines are. Don't guess. 2, know the rules. That means both the town's rules and your HOA's rules. 3, plan out your fence. Know what you want. 4, and look, we made this one the biggest for a reason. Contact the town. Seriously, call them, talk to them early. 5, once you have your answers, apply for your permits. And finally, number 6, and this is a must-do for safety, call 811 before you dig. You have to get those underground utility lines marked. So we keep saying, contact the town, but who is the town? Where do you actually call? You're looking for the Town of Leland Planning and Inspections Department. That's the place. They're the ones who handle all of it. The zoning, the setbacks, the permits. They are your number one resource. And to make your life even easier, we've got the numbers right here for you. You've got the main number for the planning department, the main one for inspections, and even a couple of direct lines for the planners who deal specifically with zoning and setbacks. I'd seriously pause this right now and take a picture with your phone. These numbers are your golden ticket. They're how you get those clear, definitive answers. So look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Communication is everything. It's the whole ballgame. The rules we talked about, they're your starting point. They're your guide. But the real key to getting your project done smoothly in Leland is talking, having a real conversation with the people at the town hall who can give you the final word. Because at the end of the day, following the rules just makes your fence legal. A great fence, a perfect fence, that does more. It builds community. It shows you respect your neighbors. It makes the whole street look better. So as you're making your plans, yeah, remember all the rules. But also ask yourself, what kind of neighbor do you want to be? What story is your fence going to tell?